Hi, this is Joyce Bulletin. You're listening to TV Confidential.
In the world.
Ed Roberts with a reminder that the next edition of TV Confidential will premiere next week on this station at the usual time. Our guests will include Kathy Fitzgibbon Rudolph. Kathy is the author of Paul Lynde, a biography, his life, his loves, and his laughter, an intimate portrait of the actor-comedian best known as Uncle Arthur on Bewitched and the star of the Hollywood Squares. We hope you'll join us for that. In the meantime, we mentioned at the top of the program that October 2019 marks the 70th anniversary of the debut of Mr. Magoo. Mr. Magoo, the nearsighted curmudgeon voiced by Jim Backus in a series of animated shorts and TV cartoons, one of the most famous of which is Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol, the 90-minute holiday classic from 1962 that was also the very first animated special produced specifically for television. Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol was directed by legendary animator Abe Levitow. Our colleague Greg Ehrbar recently chatted with Roberta Levitow, Abe's daughter and an accomplished director, performer, and teacher in her own right. One of the co-founders of Theaters Without Borders, Roberta Levitow has also released 2 albums, the most recent of which, Lost in the Stars, features Roberta's renditions of his classic songs as God Save the Child, A Fool Such as I, and the title track, Lost in the Stars, plus songs from some of the animated musicals that her father directed, including Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol. Lost in the Stars is available at CD Baby. You can also find it at iTunes, Amazon.com, and wherever music is sold. As we pick up the conversation, Greg asks Roberta about the album Lost in the Stars.
I want to start with the album because your voice is, I don't know, from reading about you, you're a theater director and teacher, and I want to talk about that and the Theater Without Borders and all those things. A lot of people make albums and then you say, well, gee, that's very nice just to be nice. But you've got a great voice. Do you practice?
Oh, thank you. You know, as an actress, because everybody starts wanting to be a performer in the theater, I was interested in singing and musical theater. I studied bel canto a little bit when I was college age. And so I was always interested in working musically, but I didn't have either an operatic voice or a real belting Broadway voice, so it didn't stay as a focal point in my performing. I ended up working as an actress for the years that I worked as an actress, more in straight plays. Uh-huh. And so I kind of tucked my music away just for my own enjoyment. I tried to learn the guitar, but I wasn't very good at it. I tried to be Joan Baez when I was in college, but I couldn't really pull that off either. So it went away for a while, but when I married my husband, who's in the music business and is a guitarist, and of course there's music in our house, and there are little jam sessions when musicians come over or we go over to places, and slowly, I started humming in the background and then singing some harmony, and then Mitch invited me to sing with him, and then we actually started doing a tiny bit of performance in friends events, nothing formal really. He performs at Merle Fest, which is Doc Watson and his sons, the late Doc Watson and late Merle Watson's festival in North Carolina. And one year I went and I was his backup singer, and so I started kind of creeping out. And then as a birthday present one year, he said, I know you enjoy singing all these songs in French. My French studies have been important to me over the past years. I actually use it in my work, and so singing French songs, I studied in France when I was a college student. So he said, I'll make you a CD. Let's make a CD of your French songs. And that was totally amateur. We just made a CD together, and it was a birthday present that I gave out to friends and family. And then the next time we were singing some songs together, and we would sing them at friends' parties or at these small performance venues. We said, well, let's make another CD and let's do it professionally this time. So we actually went and got all the appropriate permissions and put it up on a website and put it up on iTunes.
So this is not your first album then?
It's my second, right, my second album, yes. I have a CD that is classic French songs from the chanson period, which is those storytelling songs that are really pretty familiar to people who follow it.
You mean like Edith Piaf kind of stuff?
Yeah, like Edith Piaf. I sing an Edith Piaf song. I sing songs that Charles Aznavour sang, Charles Trenet.
Which Piaf song do you sing?
Oh, La Vie en Rose.
Ah. Did you ever see that Neil Simon movie where Eileen Brennan doesn't know the words, but she just strolls around going, la, 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 la?
No, but it's pretty easy to
then she
do
says,
comic
"Everybody
turns
join in."
on those classic French songs. And a French accent, you know, yeah. No, maybe it's an homage to Pepe Le Pew.
Yeah, you know, that is kind of ironic, isn't it? Yeah.
And Gaypurr-ee.
That's true. 2 movies with exquisite music.
Mm.
And, you know, I was thinking about this just before we talked, because the songs from both just swim around in your head because the quality of the melodies are so good and the lyrics. Now, just as there was then, even with animated films making such inroads and being such blockbuster hits, there's still this attitude of it's just a cartoon. And had the songs from Magoo or Gaypurr-ee been in a Broadway show or a live-action musical, they'd be sung everywhere and they'd be considered standards and all of that, which they ought to be. But there is this sort of attitude of, you know.
Oh, yeah, I know. It is. It's an unfortunate prejudice. I mean, I think my dad, during those Gaypurr-ee years and the Mr. Magoo's Christmas Carol years, they were making that special effort to get the highest level New York Broadway talent to write the lyrics and the songs. Yip Harburg and Julie Stein, they're so famous for their other extraordinary music. It is unfortunate that the music that they wrote for those particular vehicles weren't recognized in the same way.
Well, when you approach this album, and it's called Lost in the Stars, which is I love that song anyway. That's a great song. And it's such a universally, it's from a specific show, and it has a specific purpose in that show, but it's one of those songs that touches all of us in different ways and expresses how so many of us feel. That it's never been more timely, I think, hearing it now.
Agreed. Yes, you know, we share it with our friends often, and it's so obvious that a lot of people are feeling that way. Yeah.
So when you decided to do this one, how did this album get conceived? Were these songs you'd be singing socially as well? And how did you come up with the idea of including the songs from your dad's stuff in there, too?
They were songs that we were singing socially. My husband handled the late Rosalie Sorrells for many years, and I got to meet her and hear her sing My Last Go Round, which I just love that song. And Les Chemins de l'Amour was just another French song that was even harder to sing. Malaika, I actually am on my way to Kenya in January, and I have spent a lot of time because of my other work in East Africa, in the Middle East, North Africa. And I have one song in Arabic that it will take me 40 years to learn how to sing, but Malaika is easy. I studied Swahili to do my work there. So Malaika was an old favorite from just having learned it from those times when I was traveling to East Africa. A Fool Such as I, our neighbors and I, we have neighbors right around the corner, Peter Spellman, who was also a musician and then turned to a lawyer. And he and his wife and Mitch and I would get together, and that was one of our hits with each other. We would sing A Fool Such as I, and Stephanie would sing the harmony. Winter Was Warm, I've known that was a song on the chanteuse circuit. There are many women who are singing in the cabaret scene. I mean, I know of women who are singing it in the cabaret scene in New York. And so it's the one, I suppose, that is the most having fallen into popular music.
Yeah, as time goes on, I think that's happened, yeah. And it is getting more recorded.
Yeah, and it's just so beautiful.
Yeah.
Alone in the World has always been a favorite for me. I mean, some of them just have to do with the ones that I can sing, and I'm so fond of ballads and crooners from all times. These are a couple of the ballads that come from Magoo's Christmas Carol. Like, I didn't choose to sing Razzleberry Dressing. Little Drops of Rain, I love that one too, and I guess, anything that Judy Garland sings is so gorgeous. She took that one into a more pop context because it is just such a gorgeous song. And, briefly, God Bless the Child is something my husband and I sing together. So we have done that in various contexts. And Lost in the Stars, our friend was actually singing before we sang it, although we've always loved it and do it in social settings. Each of them does have a very personal moment that it entered our repertoire. And my husband has encouraged me to do the Abe Levitow suite because he knows how important my dad was in my life, and he's an appreciator of music, and he also agrees that these are really great songs.
Yeah.
And belonged in the company of other great songs.
It's Mitch Greenhill, your husband.
Yes.
I assume he did the arrangements.
Yes, he did. It's nice to have an in-home studio and an in-home sound technician and producer.
The choice to do Alone in the World as this sort of haunting, it's almost like a listening to your past sort of shadowy kind of version of it, rather than the usual, and it has been done a few times, usually as a straight ballad. I'm trying to think an equivalent where they use that sort of carousel sound. There's a hauntingness to it, because it's a very unique choice for that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And part of it is, when you're collaborating with your fellow artists, you want to give them their opportunity to respond to the song in the way they hear it. And I think a lot of the arranging is my husband's ear, how his songs are resonating with him. And the other thing, which is probably true, is that Winter Was Warm, I think, just stands as a ballad, but Little Drops of Rain and Alone in the World, because they were written for young people, the lyrics kind of verge on a little corny, and I have sung them when my sister has been in attendance at the concert, and she rolls her eyes when I sing them. She's like, "Oh no, you're not going to sing that one." And I think she just finds them corny. And I said, "But they're beautiful. They're so sweet." She's like, they're corny. So I think partly we were trying to add just a little vinegar to find a way to not have it come across to offend my sister. We wanted to see if we could get Judy to buy it.
Oh, how well I know that. You have those little miniature family floating around as you're
Right. I saw my sister across the room going, "Oh, no."
Yeah. Well, it resulted in a very unique take on it because it does feel like an adult thinking back rather than a child being lonely, the song in itself, it rips my heart right out of me every time I hear it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, very few book musical scores can do that. There are many, many musicals, but only a handful with a song that almost 9 times out of 10, no matter how many times you hear it, like Something Wonderful in King and I, anytime anybody sings that, it's like, oh boy, get my Kleenex.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have a friend in New York, the daughter of a family friends, who as an adult told me how much that song meant to her. So I think there's part of me that has realized that besides my sister, outside of my sister, Alone in the World still resonates for a lot of people. Because we feel alone in the world a lot of times in our lives, not just
absolutely.
when we're little.
Lost in the Stars is available at CD Baby, iTunes, Amazon, and wherever music is sold. We'll play part 2 of Greg's conversation with Roberta Levitow in a few weeks on TV Confidential. We'll take a quick time out, then we'll be back with more right after this.
If you haven't been listening to TV Confidential, this is who you're missing.
Connie Stevens, Dawn Wells,
Eric Braden,
Tony Camille,
Danson Williams, Don Most, Troy Finnis, Peter Marshall,
Sherry Alberoni,
George Slaughter, Dan Castellaneta, Taylor Hicks,
Lindsay Wagner, Loretta Swett,
And many, many more of your favorite celebrities and people behind the scenes in the world of television. That's TV Confidential. Every week on this station and every day online at televisionconfidential.com.
Become a TV Confidential confidant and receive unlimited access to the last 5 years of TV Confidential, plus other members-only content. For more information, go to televisionconfidential.com/join.
We're Biffle and Schuster. How do you do? That's right, folks. We're Biffle and Schuster. We want to tell you about this amazing misadventures of Biffle and Schuster. It's a DVD from Pino Lover, and you're going to love it.
We're Biffle and Schuster. It's terrific.
Yeah, you know what Joe Dante says about them?
What did he say?
He says, forehead slapping funny. What impresses is the dogged authenticity to the era, which makes it all the more hilarious.
Absolutely. Accent on the high.
We're
Biffle and Schuster, as you can see. No one else can make that statement louder than we.
They say we're soporific,
and it's probably we. Because we're Biffle and Schuster. Oh, we're Biffle and Schuster. No, we're Biffle and Schuster.
B-I-F-F-Biffle, Biffle. S-H-W-S to Schuster.
Biffle and Schuster. Need we say more?
Available wherever DVDs are sold through our friends at Kino Lorber.
All right, you loafers, get back to work. What am I paying you for?
Why is he yelling at his shoes?
Become an advertiser or underwriter of TV Confidential and let our brand help promote your brand. To find out more, go to televisionconfidential.com/advertise.